Mickey van der Ven has come out and said that Spurs made a strange decision on sacking Ange Postecoglou after the Australian boss lifted the Europa League trophy for Tottenham in Bilbao. Ben Davies has come out and said we have to move on. Lots of transfer rumours. Reports are stating that Spurs are interested in Jadon Sancho. Two clubs are interested in signing Mikey Moore on loan. Lots of players on international duty. And Spurs star Dejan Kulusevski provides an injury update. Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. This is another episode of Tottenham News, where I'll be going through all of the latest Spurs news, rumours and reports. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please hit the follow button and leave a review if you can. So let's start by talking about some international action. On Wednesday evening, Wilson Odobert and Matisse Tel both started as France opened their UEFA Under-21 Championship with a 0-0 draw against Portugal in Slovakia. Archie Gray is in the England squad that will kick off their tournament against Czechia in Group B on Thursday, 8 p.m. UK time kickoff. The top two teams from four groups of four qualify for the quarterfinals. Richarlison came off the bench in the second half as Brazil secured a place at the 2026 FIFA World Cup with a 1-0 win against Paraguay in the early hours of Wednesday. Richarlison, who returned to international action for the first time since October 2023 against Ecuador last week, entered the fray on 78 minutes in Sao Paulo. Now, Christian Romero completed another full shift for Argentina in a 1-1 draw against Colombia. The holders secured their place at the finals a long time ago. They are 10 points clear of Ecuador and Brazil at the top of the table. Meanwhile, Rodrigo Bentancur picked up an assist in Uruguay's 2-0 win against Venezuela, meaning that Uruguay are now only a point away from joining Argentina and Brazil in the finals, with two qualifying games remaining against Peru and Chile in September. The Sun newspaper have just reported that Aston Villa, Newcastle and Tottenham Hotspur are monitoring developments with Jadon Sancho, 25, after the England wingers returned to Manchester United following his loan spell at Chelsea. The Sun have also reported that Jadon Sancho is on £300,000 a week and Aston Villa would like to sign him on loan, but Manchester United want him to leave on a permanent deal. The Football Insider have reported that Birmingham City and West Bromwich Albion have registered their interest in signing Tottenham Hotspur sensation Mikey Moore on loan for the 2025-2026 campaign. Spurs defender Ben Davies has been talking about Ange Postecoglou's sacking. He said from a player's standpoint, you don't tend to have too much input in those discussions. For us, we read about the news as you did. As players, we have to move on and do the job that is in front of us, and it is no different this time. Spurs defender Mickey van der Ven has also spoken out about Ange Postecoglou's sacking whilst on international duty. He said that was ultimately a choice from the club. We as players have little to say about that. Of course, he is the first coach in a long time who has won a trophy and has had success at Spurs. So if you look at that, of course, it is a strange choice. It is a choice from the club about which we have little to say, so we will see what happens now. Of course, we have seen the rumours about the Brentford head coach, who it will probably be. So yes, a choice from the club about which we have little to say. I think many of the players got along with Ange Postecoglou well. And of course, what I say, he is the first coach who has brought success to Tottenham in a long time. That also shows that he has a certain quality. That also means he has a winning mentality 100%. From that, you would of course say that it is a strange decision that he was fired. What we have shown in the Premier League is of course unacceptable. That would of course have multiple factors, but that would not only have been the coach. Court side have just reported that Tottenham Hotspur hold interest in Brentford midfielder Igor Yarmolyuk, and Leeds also hold interest in the Ukrainian. Brentford value the 21-year-old at around £25 million. However, the club are not intent on allowing the player to leave this summer. Now, two players at Tottenham Hotspur have been tracking for some time and have been heavily linked with during this transfer window so far. Leroy Sané of Bayern Munich. He is now on his way to Galatasaray. Fabrizio Romano has given the here we go. And, of course, Angel Gomez, the Lille star, is now on his way to Marseille. Fabrizio Romano has also given the here we go. Now, it was reported on Tuesday that Tottenham Hotspur were holding further talks with Brentford and Thomas Frank and the backroom staff on Wednesday. Now, Wednesday has been a very quiet day in terms of updates on the Thomas Frank situation, apart from the Sun stated that Spurs are now very close to agreeing a deal with Brentford for Thomas Frank. Now, the Daily Mail have just reported it is worth keeping an eye on Tottenham Hotspur in this transfer window for Nottingham Forest and England star Morgan Gibbs-White. They have also stated that Manchester City have now called their interest, and Tottenham Hotspur and Sweden star Dejan Kulusevski has been talking about his injury, providing an update. He said, "I'm feeling great, I'm ahead of schedule, and I can start walking now without crutches." Now, my thoughts on everything in this episode. Now, the Thomas Frank situation, we've been given the here we go from Fabrizio Romano, and it is just a matter of time now before everything gets done. The contracts are all signed, and, the manager does the interview, the backroom staff sign their contracts, etc., etc. So, this should be announced by the weekend, and various media outlets, very reliable media outlets, have reported this. So it's just a matter of time. I would expect either Thursday or Friday morning. So, not long to wait now before we learn who the new manager is. Of course, it's going to be Thomas Frank, but not long to wait. Mickey van der Ven and Ben Davies have been talking about Ange Postecoglou, and I've no doubt that this subject will go on for some time. What I do find really, really strange is the fact that Ben Davies has come out and said, we found out the news exactly as you did. Would you not have thought that these players would have actually been called or a text message or a WhatsApp message, or, at least give the heads up to know that your manager is heading out the door? Does someone not, inform them from the football club? Do they not have any heads up before us fans? I just find that incredible. I really, really do. Van der Ven, of course, has come out and said it was a strange decision because Ange Postecoglou lifted the trophy, and he has hinted that there is more blame for other people. It's not just about Ange Postecoglou, and I completely agree with that. And I know that a lot of the players, you can tell by what they've written on social media as well, particular players like Basuma and Van der Ven, they're not happy with the situation at all. But I agree also with Ben Davies. Football, changes all the time. Football, sometimes really harsh decisions are made. I know the fan base is very mixed about the sacking of Ange Postecoglou. It does feel a bit weird because we won the Europa League only a couple of weeks ago, and it's like so many people, in fact, it feels like everyone has just forgotten that we've won the trophy, which, the celebrations just seem to have just been cancelled. Spurs have stopped putting out pictures of the players celebrating the parade, etc., etc. Up until Ange Postecoglou was sacked, the social media team were constantly putting out posts, from the parade and from the game, etc. And we've seen nothing since. It just seems really strange. I know there's the odd one or two fans putting stuff out, but it just seems to have stopped, and everyone just seems to have forgotten that we've won the Europa League. Of course, we're going to be playing Champions League football next year, which is fantastic. Thomas Frank, will be coming in, and I've done a lot of research on Thomas Frank, and he's a very good coach, someone who has fantastic relationships with his players, his board, the fans. He's got great tactical flexibility. Normally plays 4-3-3, can switch it to a 3-5-2 and then a 4-2, 3-1. Never, ever afraid to change things in a game, which is always going to suit the players he has available. I've watched a lot of interviews with Thomas Frank, and I've been really, really impressed. He has actually spent 5 years working with Danish players at youth level. So I think it's pretty obvious that he's going to give a lot of opportunities to young players. And Spurs do have a lot of young talent, not only in the development setup, the youth setup, but players like Bergvall, players like Archie Gray, and I feel like he's really going to spend a lot of time with them and develop them. 7 years with Brentford, 4 in the Premier League, good Premier League experience, obviously, and interestingly, even though they don't spend big money, they always bring in the right players. Recruitment at Brentford has been really good under Thomas Frank, and whenever he's lost a player, he just seems to replace them. And interestingly, during his 4 years, a lot of people thought that Brentford might go down. He has never, ever spent any time in the relegation zone. And another interesting stat, Spurs have only ever won one away game at Chelsea in Premier League history since '92. Thomas Frank has taken his Brentford team to Stamford Bridge 4 times. He's won there 3 times. Incredible. But he is a very, very calming presence. Well liked in the media and across football. I haven't heard or seen anyone say a bad word about him. Very, very well liked by a lot of opponents' fans as well. And he's going to make Spurs hard to beat, in my opinion. He really is. At the same time, he loves to play offensive football. He said that in a lot of interviews. Loves developing players, loves improving players. His players are extremely well drilled. His players are often unsung heroes who give everything. They know their jobs inside out. Brentford have the second lowest wage bill. Spurs, I think at the moment, are the 7th highest in the Premier League on wages. And he's led Brentford to good Premier League finishes despite having low budgets. Identifies good players in the transfer market, which the club have then sold on for large profits. He's improved players year by year, as I've said. And interestingly, in the 23-24 season, his side Brentford suffered 21 injuries, 11 surgeries, and Ivan Toney suspended as well. And his team was nowhere near the relegation zone. And I know some people will probably shout at me now saying, well, what do you keep going on about the relegation zone? I'm talking about, a team that doesn't spend much money, doesn't have big budgets. And it's kind of a miracle, the job that he has done at Brentford. It's an incredible job. And for me, he really deserves this opportunity to move to a big club and have that big break. And this is exactly why he's, grabbing that pen and signing on the dotted line, because he wants this big break and he deserves it. And it appears he copes with situations extremely well. I feel like he's a good listener. I feel like he identifies exactly what players can do and their capabilities, and he works heavily on that. And I believe that he deserves the chance to manage in the Champions League as well, which of course is going to be, a first for him, and the first competitive game that he is going to take charge of at Spurs. Of course, we're going to have the friendlies, but the first competitive game is going to be the Super Cup against PSG. What a game that's going to be. So it's going to be a big test for him in the Champions League, but he's dealt with many situations and challenges in his career, which he's done pretty well in. He's worked with Johan Lange before, of course, heavily driven on data. Fabio Paratici is expected to come back to the football club as well. So I feel that is going to be a really good mix of data and, of course, Fabio Paratici's, book of contacts. So I feel like that is going to be a really good mix there. And it's funny because in an interview that I saw, he said he's got the perfect football life at Brentford. Now, we all know that that's not going to be perfect at Spurs. And we all know that in his Brentford press conferences, there's only ever a few people in these press conferences. That's no disrespect. It's factual. But in that Spurs press conference room, there are going to be a lot of journalists there giving Thomas Frank a lot of hard questions, going over, what's gone wrong at the football club, over the years. Why haven't the likes of Jose Mourinho, Conte, why haven't they got Spurs over the line, won trophies, etc. Then they're going to go, down the route of asking him about Postecoglou, etc. He's going to have a lot of very difficult questions. But from what I've seen, he answers questions extremely well, and he's very respectful the way he answers all these questions as well. And he controls press conferences, which I feel like he's done a great job in that way. But hopefully this isn't a major reset for Tottenham. Hopefully he can continue the job that Ange Postecoglou has started. And I know some people won't give Ange Postecoglou the credit that he deserves, but not only has Ange Postecoglou put a trophy in the cabinet, he has started the rebuild, and he has left the football club in a good shape, because I feel like, with a couple of additions coming in to the football club, I feel like we could really, really kick on. So I don't see this as a major reset. I just hope that the board now do back him in terms of he can then fight on all fronts. And that's their words that they use, fight on all fronts, cup competitions, Champions League, and Premier League, because of course we don't want to be finishing in 17th again in the Premier League. That was not good enough. But Spurs have gone through now 19 managers in 24 years, 8 different managers in the dugout since, and including Pochettino in 2019, including caretaker managers. And we don't want to be in this situation in 18 months, 24 months time. So I feel like the transfer windows are very, very important to fight on all fronts. But, the whole Thomas Frank situation, I feel good about it. And I feel that he's going to really relish this opportunity and grab the opportunity. And I would just urge you to go and watch lots of interviews and press conferences, and watch him on the touchline, the way that he talks to his players, the way that he is so active in training sessions. And many of you will probably say, yeah, but every manager does that. No, they don't. So yeah, go and have a look and do your own research about Thomas Frank. But I feel that like this is a really good appointment, and like I said, such a calming presence. And I feel like Spurs probably need that calmness right now. And also that really good balance of being a team hard to beat, but also want to go forward and play entertaining football. So I feel like it's going to be a really, really good balance. It's interesting that, all these transfer rumours are starting up again. Of course, the first part of the transfer window is closed. The second part will start on Monday, the 16th of June. So hopefully Spurs can start being active as soon as we've got Thomas Frank appointed, and he's wearing that tracksuit, and he's in Hotspur way working. Hopefully we can get some deals done pretty quickly to back this manager and kick on from winning the Europa League, because I want to feel like that as a fan again, in the near future. I don't want to be waiting another 17 years for a trophy. So hopefully Thomas Frank can do that, but one step at a time. Dejan Kulusevski has provided an update on his injury. He's walking again now without crutches, which is great news. And lastly, who I'll talk about is Mikey Moore, possible loan. I feel like if Mikey Moore went out on loan, I feel like the perfect club for him would be West Brom to work under Ryan Mason, who, of course, he knows extremely well from his time at Spurs. But I feel like someone like Mikey Moore, if Spurs aren't going to use him on a regular basis, perhaps do send him out on loan. He's still only 17, great talented player, with a very bright and excellent future coming up. So if Spurs did feel the need to send him out on loan, West Brom would certainly be the place, in my opinion. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please hit the follow button and leave a review if you can. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you on the next one. Come on, you Spurs.